this was a lovely simple one just to show you very basic embossing technique and how to get a lovely application of ink. So we're going to work with the regular 2D folder. I say regular because in that box you're going to get the 3D folders as well as the 2D. And this is the lovely one. I love this design, beautiful design. You'll see me use it in some of the other projects as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of the coloured cardstocks. Now the coloured cardstock in the set is a nice thin cardstock so that you get a lovely deep emboss on it. So what I'm going to do is I've just cut that down to the size of the folder, and you can see when I lie that on the inside, it's just perfectly sized now to fit in there. Now because it's a regular embossing folder, all you really need are the 2 clear plates. So to get a regular emboss, you're going to pop that inside the 2 clear plates. If you want a really deep emboss, you're going to add an extra shim. Now an extra shim could be a piece of cardstock, or in this case, I'm going to add in the magnetic. Now with some embossing folders you might find that that's just a little bit too thick, and all that will happen is you'll feed it into the machine. As soon as the machine gets to the actual embossing folder, you can hear it start working harder when it gets to the folder. It might just stop and return. In this case, I know it's taking that no problem, so it'll continue to feed it all the way through. And what that means is, when I show you here, we'll get a lovely, lovely, really deep emboss on the cardstock. So you've got a lovely deep effect, right? And all I'm going to do is I'm now going to add a little bit of colour. Now, you probably wouldn't have thought to do this, but I'm going to add the pine tree, so I'm going to add a bit of green onto the turquoise card. And usually I wouldn't use 2 colours so close together, but I'm working to this background paper. So I've kind of matched my cardstock up to this. So you'll see I've used the turquoise. It's no accident that the stripes in the cardstock match perfectly with the colour. It's because we've coordinated everything together for you in the kit. But then I noticed that there was this lovely darker green in, so I've matched that up with one of my Harmony ink pads. So I'm using the pine tree. But any sort of green ink pad's going to give you that same effect. Now, how I like to work is I like to apply the ink onto a glass cutting mat like this, and then I'm going to work it into the applicator. So again, personally I prefer to use a round one. Different people use different ones. We have a square one as well, but I'm not just dabbing it in, and I'm not just going round in circles. What I'm doing is I'm scooping it on. So I'm going round and round, and I'm scooping that ink into the centre. Okay, I think I need a little bit more on there, so all I'm going to do again, a little bit more down onto here, scoop and rubbing it right into the centre. So I've got plenty of ink in the centre there. And then I'm going to take my project up to where my ink is, and I'm going to start by just doing small circular motions and bringing that ink onto the cardstock. Now just be careful because it is a thinner cardstock, so what you don't want to do is, like I did on the corner there, is lift the edges. Just going to be really, really careful. And what you'll find is, can you see, it's putting more ink where we've got the raised sections. Now I'm feeling that I'm starting to run out of ink a little bit on my applicator here. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit more down, work it in. What I'm not then going to do is go straight into the middle, because this will be a deeper amount of ink. So I'm going to just work a little bit up from the bottom again, deepen that a little bit more. And then as we come in, then I'm going to go gently and start to apply it over my butterflies in the top up here. So I want the all over to be roughly that same. All I have a little hint in of colour in the background, but I just want it to be even. And the trick is, less is more, less pressure. You can always go and apply more pressure again to add more in, but once you've got that ink on, you can't take it off. So you can see I've been a little bit heavy-handed over here. You can see I've got a little smudge mark here. Nothing that can't be fixed. All I'm going to do, pick up a little bit more and then deepen it again from the edge, just to kind of reduce the emphasis down there. And you can see the more I go over, the deeper that's getting. And as you start to run out of ink on the applicator, what you'll find is you can press a little bit harder. It becomes a little bit easier to pick up that excess. So there's my colouring. That's already, it's nice and coloured. And just a good little habit to get into is get yourself a baby wipe, clean down your mat before you start working again, and if you've got any on your fingers, because what you don't want, if we're going to work with a white card base, is to get ink all over our card. So again, just a little bit of paper towel, just to have that nice and clean to work from. Now, I'm going to take that and I'm going to mount that onto a bit of white card just to make it stand proud a little bit more from the card. Now, I'm using the Collall all-purpose glue, because the great thing with this in the embossing folders is the glue is going to seep in to all of those debossed sections. So it's going to allow me to get plenty of glue all over. And even where I caught those edges, can you see, and lift them up, I can stick them back down. And the Collall all-purpose will allow me that time to manoeuvre it into place And as I've got down here, if there's any bits that ooze out, you can literally rub it away with your finger, and you can see that it's rubbing together. Oh, I've got loads coming out of the corner here. Get all the excess glue out that you don't need, and then you can literally just rub it off with your finger, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of ribbon round. So I've got a little bit of ribbon from the kit, and I find it's easier to apply the ribbon just here with my tape pen. So I'm going to stick that down and then stick it over the background as well. And that'll be ready to mount onto the front of the card. Now again, the front of the card, you can either use the tape pen or you can use the collal all-purpose, depending on how confident you are at getting that perfectly positioned in the centre. And you can see I've actually used the green ink just to go around the outsides and deepen that one a little bit further again. And that's just going to go in the centre. Now to add the sentiment, remember in your kit you've got those lovely little sentiment embossing folders, and you've got a few different ones. You've got thinking of you, sending love, we've got happy birthday, and we've got thank you. So all I've done is I've cut a little bit of cardstock to do the thank you one here. A little bit of cardstock. I'm just going to make sure that's big enough to go over the sentiment. So I can see there, we can make sure all the sentiment can be seen on the white. And I'm going to do the same again, same sandwich combination. So you've got the two base plates. I'm going to add in that magnetic for a little bit of extra pressure and pop that through. And then when that comes out again, it's nice and deep. And I actually quite like that in the white, but what I am going to do to make it stand out is just going to go around the outside with this, just to add a little bit of that green, just to take the stark whiteness of it away, and so that it all kind of matches in together a little bit more. And then again, we can either go flat with that on the front, or if you want to raise it up a little bit, you can use your 3D glue gel and a couple of big blobs on the back of there. I would definitely put 3 on though, so that you've got plenty of it, and that's just going to position in the centre. And that just gets you that lovely sentiment in, but everything done with the embossing folder there.